How do I change my thing?
To what?
Black History bucket list. I was
Oh, it's just Black History Boot Camp. Okay, well, maybe
that's
that's what you need to
what you call
do.
it. Huh?
I said maybe that's what you need to do as a Black
No,
History Boot.
the girl track ladies, that's them.
Oh, okay. Go out and then when you come back in, it'll let you change it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Hey everyone, we are what a few minutes late. Just trying to make this happen and getting ready to. We're rallying all the ladies on to have this conversation. How are y'all doing? It has been a lot. I don't know about you, but I have been overwhelmed with just multiple shootings. I think the shooting in Buffalo like really took me over the edge, and then with the little kids in Texas, that was too much. And then we got another one in Oklahoma with the healthcare provider. And so that was just really making me like, oh, Lord. This Sister Tandi. Hey, Sister Tandi.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Jamila just, she went to go change her little thing. She was going and coming back. So, Lord have mercy. That much right there?
Is it the Temptations? It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. Who sang that song?
No, that's,
I forget,
um,
I forget who it was, but I was singing so hard to get out this bed. Woo, it was
you,
so hard.
bless your heart.
It was
Isn't
so hard.
that Boys to Men? Did somebody sang it before Boys to Men?
Yes, but
Oh,
okay, boy. Okay,
okay, we'll go with Boys to Men.
we'll go with that one. We'll go with that version. And then the Condi version. Ooh.
Lord, 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 Lord. Well, I was just saying, I was just talking to the audience. Nobody's on here right now, but I was just talking to them. And I was like, Lord, so I realized like so much has happened since the last time that the three of us talked. You
Oh man.
had the
Hmm.
white supremacists go up there in Buffalo and kill the elders,
Yeah.
just folks that were
I'm
minding.
assuming I'm assuming the guy in Texas was white supremacist. I haven't really paid that much attention to it because I didn't want to run into the faces of 19 snaggletooth babies, so I kind of just avert my eyes. I
No,
I just didn't want to see their faces, but I heard something about I caught a snippet of his mama saying, "Well, don't judge," and he had his reasons. I was like, "Really? For
mm,
real? 19 babies?" So I don't, we know it's possible for people of color to be white supremacists. I don't know why other people not clear on that. We clear on that. But like I said, I haven't really studied to see, quote unquote, what his reasons were.
I didn't. I have found myself. I think it was, and I said this to Njamile before. I think it was, recognizing that old black women were murdered just minding their own black business, going to the grocery store, and then the next week, little children being murdered. It just took me over the edge, and so I had been paying more attention to the story in Texas. And it doesn't, I mean, we always know, like you said, that, you can be a white supremacist no matter what you look like. So think about that guy that's over the Proud Boys. I knew he was Cuban wearing them Malekes. I didn't know he was half black. He's part Cuban. One of his parents is African American or black. I don't know where from. The person African, the other was Cuban. I was like, okay, you were completely out your mind. Um,
Excuse me.
with the guy in Texas, the young, really a boy, because he just had turned 18.
Mm-hmm.
I I got the impression, and I don't know, but I got the impression that there was something beyond that. That there's some intense mental health issues. I don't know that. Well, see, I was gonna say I don't know that that's at the root, but like Jamile said last time, white supremacy is never off the table. In any way, shape, or form, somewhere it seeps in. Was that the predominant issue, like the boy that went up and killed the people in Buffalo? I don't know that was out front, it sounds like that there's something else. And what makes me even think about that is just, him murdering, well, not murdering, but shooting his grandmother in the face. I'm like, there's a whole other story that is there. That is. And then, of course, I don't know if y'all paid attention to in Oklahoma, where this is a healthcare provider who had done surgery on this man and then was shot. So of course that makes me pretty nervous as a healthcare provider myself. And I'm like, well, damn. So now we're shooting the healthcare providers? That's what we're doing? Okay.
And I was like, wait a minute. He worked on your back and you mad at him?
I mean, chronic pain can be a doozy. I've worked in a pain clinic. Chronic pain can be, you can lose your mind with some chronic pain. But you go and shoot somebody? That's a whole other kind of thing.
Mind, and it didn't help the photograph that they showed of him, okay? That didn't help.
Oh, what did he look like? I didn't see him.
You ain't seen the picture. Ooh.
No. Have you seen the picture, Jamila? Oh, okay.
You should go Google him real quick and come back.
Really? Okay. I mean, I saw I know that it was a brother. The dude was African American. No. I'm talking about the doctor that did the surgery on him.
So was the one who shot him. And like I said, let's just say that's not a flattering photograph.
Wow.
At all.
Wow. Wow. I mean, it speaks to the sickness of the society and this constant obsession with guns. Just everywhere, pervasive.
Yeah, there is an obsession with guns, and I think that has permeated the culture because it is a white supremacist culture that is in fear of everything that it has stolen. But there's a sickness in this society. There is definitely a sickness, because my thing is, you can ban assault weapons all you want. You're going to turn people into axe murderers. We need to figure out why people want to kill in the first place. What is driving these people to kill? What is driving these people to kill unknown people, strangers, large numbers of them? There's something going on in society. What is this sickness? You don't want to address that. Okay. All right. Keep on. Yeah. Keep on.
So I know we were supposed to talk about Juneteenth. We're going to get to Juneteenth, but I got to go there just for a second that you said that. Okay. So work with me, Jamila and Sister Thandi. Okay. So have y'all seen, Ajoka and I just finished watching on Amazon, The Wheel of Time?
Never heard of it.
Me either.
Okay, so it's interesting. I think we should play with this. Okay, so think of Lord of the Rings kind of energy. Lord of the Rings, quest, young people going on a quest, trying to, stop evil from permeating the world. It's woman-centric, though, in a very interesting way. So again, Dr. McCray always says white supremacy is never off the table. So of course, the protagonist, what do you think the woman's going to look like? But so the main character is a white woman, but there are these other women that are witches that have these power, and women have the power. And when men get the power, they go mad, but the women are like basically the protectors of the earth. I do think in a way that this particular series is really interesting because they really do this interesting cross section. So there's Asian women, there's African women of African descent, there's an Indian woman that's in there. So they're really mixing it up, and but it's still grounded in that kind of Lord of the Rings kind of thing. So if you're into that kind of stuff, then it would be interesting. We watched the series and enjoyed it. The thing how it relates to what you were just saying, Thandi, is like what's going on that is in people, regardless of whether it's a gun, it's an axe, it's some acid that you throw on somebody. What's in it where you killing people, just wholesale doing this? And it really reminds me of kind of foundation of this country and the constant nurturing and feeding of hate, of meanness, of propping up anger and instability and propping up evil. And so whether you think of it as, and I'm into fantasy, so whether you think of it as a Voldemort character in the Harry Potter series, if you think about it, anytime where you have kind of like this evil that is brewing and people constantly feed it, I think every single time you have these demons that are in positions to make laws and everything that allow guns to proliferate in the society, that allow criminals to go free depending on what they look like, that do nothing when small children are murdered. I think you feed that negativity. It's like it's feeding on everything that is wrong with this society. And so when you're seeing that people, so there's this interesting thing in the movie, and it's just like, you remember The Ring and Lord of the Rings. Have y'all both seen it? I'm assuming y'all both seen it. Neither one of y'all. Okay, so this I can't talk to y'all.
But keep it coming. Keep it coming.
But, so basically, there's this whole thing about this ring, and you got to get the ring back, and you got to have this pure heart to be able to carry the ring. And if you put the ring on, then you just lose your mind. And so it's like, the love of money. It's the love of white supremacy. It's the greed of this country keeps feeding evil over and over and over again. And if you think about the children, if you think about them old Black women as this constant sacrifice towards evil, those people that are not psychologically stable, which I think is what was going on with that young boy, it is easy because they don't have no guard up. They don't have no kind of spiritual protection. It is easy for that evil to take hold of them and then use them to feed it even more. I think that's what we are witnessing.
Oh, absolutely.
Evil being fed.
I mean, well, there are those who believe, and I'm part of that crew because sometimes I believe it. I have to be honest, not all the time. But us who believe that we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are those of us who believe that energy undergirds everything, that spirit is what is prime and not matter. So absolutely, evil is a spirit that can take seat, that can take hold. Absolutely. And the same thing with white supremacists in terms of church bombings, church buildings. All they need to see is one person doing it. All they need to see is that one spark, get that idea. It doesn't necessarily have to be a meeting on 4chan or on Reddit or some dark corner of the internet. They already exist. Okay, this went down in Cleveland. This went down in Tulsa. My turn. It doesn't take a lot, unfortunately. Even though I believe that there's coordination. I do believe there have been discussions. There have been meetings. I do believe that has happened. But I say that not to endorse conspiracies, as one of my political teachers told me years ago. White folk don't need no conspiracy. They kill us in the open.
So for me, I go back to one of the things that you said when we first started this series. Very first time when we talked about Lovecraft Country.
Yes.
And you were just talking about just like the killings of Black people, like that's that feeding this. What was the brother that sacrificed?
Well,
the what now?
The main character, the main Chet.
Atticus. They called him.
Oh, Atticus. Oh, no. Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, you were talking about okay, this is a sacrifice to Olokun every single time that these brothers are being killed in the street by this Olokun energy. And I think it's the same thing. I think it's what we're looking at is the same thing. It's and the reason I say that is like when you look at kind of fantasy, I was telling a joke like this, you can see the mind of a writer. You can see the cultural beliefs of a writer. You can see their spiritual essence when they write the things that they create. And I'm saying you are looking at the way that they see the world, that they understand about this evil, and they will continuously feed it over and over and over again. And they have gotten to the point where they are sacrificing it with our babies. They are sacrificing our babies to feed this energy. So if it's, Sandy Hook and you got to sacrifice little babies, and you have some monster that goes and hunts little kids and opens up cabinets and shoots them, or if you have them in a classroom and another monster comes in and shoots them dead in the face so their parents can't even recognize them anymore. That is demonic energy. There ain't nothing else about that.
Demonic.
And see, we got the Reverend come in right on the right time. Talk about demons. Talk about the demons. How we get rid of these demons, Rev?
You got to get them out.
How?
You got to get them out.
How?
Well, I think first we got to recognize who the enemy is, because most of the time we want to fight people, but we need to be fighting white supremacy, right? Because that's the root of it. And some of us are holding that demon, regardless of the color of our skin. Some of our practices are holding the demon of white supremacy, regardless of what we're calling it, right? And so I think you got to know the actual enemy to exercise it and be willing to name it, and to name it in your life and in other people, so you can recognize what you're actually fighting.
Wow. Okay. All right. And that's why I said earlier, because we were talking before you came on, we were talking about that boy that went and murdered those children. And I'm like, fundamentally, white supremacy is not off the table. I don't know that that was necessarily in the forefront, because it's clear that there's some serious mental health issues. People was all online talking about this. Not a mental health issue. If you shoot your grandmama and then go shoot little kids, that's a mental health issue. Period, point blank. I don't know what y'all think mental health is. That's a mental health issue.
That's first of all. First of all, you don't shot.
That ain't normal.
You done shot your Anna in the face. That's first.
Yeah, that's not healthy behavior. That's not healthy behavior.
Yeah, because I don't know if y'all seen that trending where people were just talking about, well, like, oh, well, don't say these are mental health issues. Even this fool up in Buffalo. I'm sorry, white supremacy is a mental health issue.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sister. Thank you. As a professionally trained, certified mental health practitioner, because that's my position. And with much respect to my brothers and sisters who consider themselves to be neurodivergent or grappling with whatever, and who don't want to be lumped in with mass murder, I'm sorry that your feelings are hurt. White supremacy is a mental illness. It will most definitely make you crazy. It's a mental illness.
I mean, this is the thing, and I promise you, okay, we're going to go and talk about Juneteenth, because that's what we said we was coming here to talk about. Think about this. Think about this. Think about how sick you have to be to sit your ass in a comfortable house, have the middle class accoutrements, have all the privileges of those middle class accoutrements, and you drive your sick ass 3 hours in a car. You only 18, so somebody done bought you a car. And you got enough money to buy guns, and you gonna shoot poor Black people that don't have half of what you have.
Mind their own Black business.
You gonna tell me that ain't a mental illness? You gonna tell me when you see an old 86? I looked at because they had a post on Instagram with the names of the people and their ages. 86 years old. You gonna look at an 86-year-old and you gonna say that she's part of taking over the world? So, ooh, I was about to cuss. Something wrong with your ass.
You just did cuss.
I know, but I was gonna use some more colorful cuss. Anywho, okay. On that note, so here, look at how I'm gonna do this. Look how I'm gonna do this right here.
How you
Watch
gonna?
I'm gonna pivot right here. So what we know historically in this country, well, I ain't gonna talk historically because Jamila gonna correct me. What we know about our people in this country is that even when evil occurs, even when tragedy occurs, that we have been able to sing through it, rock through it, pray through it, dance through it, move through those spaces in order to find some sort of healing.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you think about something like Memorial Day. So there's all these different ideas about how Memorial Day started. But if you go to Charleston, South Carolina, there's this area in Charleston where they talk about one of the first Memorial Days was held.
Mm-hmm.
And in that particular area, it was a camp, and the Confederate Army had put all these Union soldiers there that were prisoners of war and let the people starve to death. And after the war was over, after all this tragedy had occurred, at that point, the biggest war in United States history, the people that buried those folks, they gave honor to those folks, and wanted to find a space to celebrate were Black women.
Mm-hmm.
We have always been able to turn tragedy into something that can be a moment of healing. Mm-hmm. So even right now, as we talk about all these things that have happened, we know that historically that's what Black women do. So with all these things that have happened, I think that this is a good time, because as we get ready to come up on Juneteenth, is for us to have this opportunity to look at historically what has happened, but then how do we make meaning out of what has happened in order for us to celebrate? Now, did I do it, Sister Tanji? Did I do it?
You smooth. Got skills. Got skills.
That being said, what I want to do is I want to open up this conversation, and I want us to pivot to talk about Juneteenth and talk about the making and creating of holidays that Black women have done in this country. And so, Dr. McCray, I want to go to you first, because I think you can kind of give us some foundation. And then I want to just open this up to a wider discussion to look at Juneteenth, but then also about the making of holidays and holy days as we have done as Black women.
Okay. Yeah. So Juneteenth. So I think it's kind of obvious, I don't know, that the name is a mashup of June and 19th, the day of observance, right? So Juneteenth. And it is widely celebrated as the last day, latest day that African Americans found out that they were emancipated from chattel slavery, or the last day that African Americans found out about the ending of chattel slavery, June 19th, 1865. And as you know, history has it, Union General Gordon Granger rode into Galveston, Texas, and told African Americans that they were forever free, and set down some guidelines for their political and economic equality. So saying, putting in writing that they should be paid for their work, and things like that. So this is in I think it's juxtaposed against other ideas about the ending of slavery, right? So there are other narratives about when slavery ended. So a lot of people point toward the Emancipation Proclamation, which went into effect January 1st, 1863. But that was just that, right? A proclamation that declared states in rebellion during the Civil War against the Union, in active rebellion as of January 1st, 1863. The people who were enslaved in those states would be forever free. Well, that's like, the United States was making a proclamation against states that had said, we're not in the United States and we don't care what you have to say. So any enslaved person who was freed, as the story goes, as a result of the Emancipation Proclamation, either freed themselves, got themselves free, right, or were freed with the help of Union soldiers, right. So the Emancipation Proclamation itself did not spell the end of slavery. And in fact, I think a nuance that people need to understand is that if there were states that were not in active rebellion, in which slavery was legal at that time, those people who were enslaved there weren't forever free. So a lot of people point out, well, that's not the end of slavery. And then the passage of the 13th Amendment comes December 6th, 1865, right? We don't really, there's no national observance of the passage of the 13th Amendment. How people think that Juneteenth became a national observance when it was just a Texas thing. I have a godmother who's like, that was just a Texas thing. So I find it laughable when people are saying Juneteenth is a national observance. But in part, people who had been accustomed to celebrating Juneteenth in places like Emancipation Park in Texas, which was bought actually by 4 African-American men as a grounds for celebrating Juneteenth, and that served as a segregated park for a while, but that still hosts Juneteenth celebrations to this day. When people moved out of areas like that during the Great Migration, around the time of World War I, between World War I and World War II, sometimes afterward, they took those celebrations with them. And so in a lot of people's eyes, Juneteenth became a national celebration before even last year, when it was made a federal holiday. So I'll stop there, and I have some other things to say, but we can go ahead if you want to ask some questions or what have you. Pivot again.
My question for all of you is, when you were growing up, did you celebrate Juneteenth?
Never heard of it.
Absolutely not.
Hadn't heard of it. I mean, as I became older, I heard about it, and I heard that it was something specific to Galveston, Texas, but that there would be observances or mentions of it elsewhere. And, during 2020, after the George Floyd murder, I believe it was if it wasn't 2020, it was last year. It was before, I think it was before the federal proclamation, where it was like the largest Juneteenth ever. I'm not sure if it was June of 2020, it might have been, but this is the movement for Black Lives had a hand in pushing that, and so many forces were pushing as something for Black people to celebrate, to come together. And I can appreciate that. I respect that. I honor that. And I still have good sister friends who, in public, they like, yeah, but then in private, when they call me, they be like,
they're not rolling the eyes, are they? They're not rolling the eyes.
They rolling the eyes hard. That is not my Independence Day. Why are we celebrating getting news late? Like,
what? She said, get a news late.
Why could you just? They be like, Thandi. I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it, right? But again, if you notice this, it was an elder sister who had been pushing for so long for this date to be made a federal holiday. And, I got opinions about going to the federal government, but be that as it may, again, just Black people looking for something to gravitate to, grabbing something as their own, making it their own. I don't remember seeing that much red, black, and green nationally in so long. I was like, okay, still silently rolling the eyes, like, yeah.
I was rolling my eyes too, because I was like, this is what they're trying to give us now. And then I heard a whole thing where they were like, no, has been pushing for this for a long time. This has been going on for many years. It just happened to get approved or, come about, like get finalized right now. But this is something that is historic. And I think, to me, that was one of the examples of the ways in which often we don't, well, I'm not, hold on, let me fix my language. Sometimes I notice that people do not actually read. They don't read. They don't do critical analysis.
Is Reverend Estee go over there rocking? Look out. She rocking back and forth. Oh.
I didn't even notice I was doing it, but I was over here like,
I'm not trying to hate, but so the first thing that I thought was like, why would they be doing this right now? This is not what we need. We need voting rights. We need all these other kinds of things. And then the first thing I did, so Greg Carr does a thing with Karen Hunter on Saturdays. And, Greg always had the information and he can go back and look at the historic stuff and the legal stuff because he's a legal person and got a PhD in Africana studies. And so I listened to people that got some sense. Not Pookie, Raekwon, and Quintavious in them. Now, if Pookie, Raekwon, and Quintavious in them, if they can analyze some stuff, I might listen to them. But right now, no. And so I listened to some people that had some sense that gave me a more of a historical lens on what was going on. So then I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to hate as much right now.
You're not going to hate as much.
But I am so intrigued by the number of people, particularly when you look at that online, that won't have that history about Juneteenth, that won't read and just do any kind of critical analysis. And so then sometimes it twists into, I know y'all saw the Walmart try to have the Juneteenth ice cream.
First of all, you stole that from Black people's ice cream. Let's name that first.
Because it's red velvet and cheesecake. Now, who gonna make that but some Black people?
No, the unique combination that they use is actually, I'll have to try to find a link on my phone, but it's actually a Black ice cream company's combination that they sell as a unique flavor. They stole it.
Well, Walmart does that all the time, so.
Yeah, I think that's great value stock and trade.
America,
it's a generic brand.
America stole us, so it's in keeping with Juneteenth. I mean,
That's what I was like. Are y'all surprised? They were like stealing whole people. So what you think they care about your red velvet cheesecake ice cream recipe?
Although I'm not sure if it was a meme, a caricature or not, but they had one version of the Juneteenth ice cream that had Nat Turner on the cover. I was like, I want that.
That was fake.
I want it though. I want it.
Yeah, no, I saw people doing that. They did that afterwards. Okay. Yeah, so
I was I will buy that one. Yes, I will. And
it was also somebody that had like some napkins that was like, it's the freedom for me.
I saw people, and so this is interesting. We're gonna go back to this holiday thing.
Go. We just talked about Black women's intellectual theft last time.
Correct.
We'll talk about co-optation on when we come back this fall.
It's the freedom for me, said an African American person. Never.
Hey, Nosabella saying hi.
They said, if you're gonna come and buy the individual red, black, and green great value napkins, then we might as well give you this combination. It's the freedom for me napkin, because they say it's the same thing.
Oh Lord.
No, but are you serious? Are you joking?
No, yeah, I'm joking, because I'm just like. Capitalism is undefeated, because it's still going a lot. Like, where are we going to a Black-owned business to buy our red, black, and green Juneteenth napkins for the celebration? No, we still gonna be up in Walmart.
I have never bought red, black, and green napkins, but Njamila is the one that taught me this. This is how you create holidays before all this foolishness happened. So what Njamile taught me is at Halloween you buy your black napkins, and then during the Christmas holidays on sale
You buy your
buy
green napkins.
red.
No, you got to say it right, Dr. Ifetayo. You
Go
have to
ahead,
tell
go
the
ahead.
people right. It's after when it's on sale. You don't go
After.
when it's on sale for $1.
Mhm.
After Halloween, after
And then you
Christmas, then you go get the black and the red and the green. Yes, I did say that.
and then you
That's how
save it
I
for the
know I'll
next
still be
year.
in Walmart.
You save it for the next year, and then now you have your red, black, and green. So that is what I'm talking about in terms of Black women and how we create holidays. Because like when our kids were growing up, we didn't have all of this stuff. I remember one time she went and they had little Kwanzaa shirts at Walmart. Yes, we did buy some Kwanzaa shirts at Walmart. She went and bought the shirt.
That's because Brother Ayatoro did not have them. We bought the dashikis from Brother Ayatoro, okay, from Mutana. But since he didn't have the t-shirts, we had to buy the t-shirts, Kwanzaa t-shirts from Walmart. After Kwanzaa, though, they were for the next year because they were on sale.
Oh, Lord.
And it was like $5. And so, of course, then the kids wore them shirts for years and years and years. The sleeves was all up to here because it was long sleeve. It was winter. So it's like long sleeve shirts. And they was wearing them. And then they got to like little half shirts.
Oh, Lord. Yes, being frugal.
But that's how you create. I mean, so for me, getting back to this idea of creating holidays with things that are specifically Black, we just figured out with our children, how do we create this so they could have this? Focusing on stuff that's on sale and like putting things together, because it wasn't no like Juneteenth ice cream when we was growing up. I wouldn't have bought it, but
well, interestingly enough, and I'm out here in Los Angeles, so the stories that we've been able to unearth is that Kwanzaa came about because it was a daughter of one of the original members of the US organization who said, how come Black people don't have their own holiday? Now, this is a child, mind you, not an adult who has had the opportunity to study and digest history. This is a child who said, well, how come we don't have our own holiday? We should have our own holiday. And a sister by the name of Kicheko Davis, one of the original members of the US organization, she tells the story that the adults was like, okay, that's a good idea. I guess we got a task now. And so people set about researching various celebrations from the continent and came together to put together Kwanzaa. But it was based upon a child's prompting. So that's one thing. The other thing is that I notice, well, what we look at when we're talking about Black women and the creation of these celebrations, I think that going back to that unseen spiritual hand, we're talking about the work that priests do. And I'm using the non-gendered language, not priestesses. But we know that women outnumber men in terms of being priests in our spiritual traditions, and the act of memorializing we're talking about ritual, actually. It's a form of ritual. It's a form of collective ritual as well as personal individual ritual. And that's priest work. And so I can see women leading the charge to do this collectively on our behalf, something that needs to be done for Black people.
Oh, that's an interesting story. And you and I talk behind the scenes because our research overlaps, Thandi.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I saw it maybe similarly, but also a bit different from, I guess, my own perspective. Because I said that's women's work, and not because I saw them as that saw it as priest work, but I saw it as the work that the women did to and led. I should be very specific. The kind of work that the women led that was about as one particular scholar says, living for the revolution. We talk about a lot dying for the revolution and how willing we are to die for the revolution, but women in particular made the point that we have to live for the revolution, right? In particular because we're bringing lives into the world. And so Dr. Ifetayo was very good friends with us organization members, former us organization members, Queen Nzinga Haru. And Queen Nzinga Haru introduced us to her sister, Subira Kifano. And when I got to talk to Subira Kifano, she tells a similar story, told a similar story about the people's, right, the constituents' central process in envisioning and making Kwanzaa and proliferating it. But the story she tells us about how women were central to doing the daily work of making sure that the children had a place, right? Yeah. The children had a place to learn the values, to learn to practice the values, right? And so I thought of it as that perennial work, and in particular leadership, that women exhibited to make sure that the values were passed on to the children and that the children had a space to be and to thrive.
Mm-hmm. I agree, but also going back to West African and Central African, our traditions before, quote unquote, we got here. I think that what we're doing here is a continuation of that work that we did there. When you look at a lot of the work that we do for the well-being, or that is done for the well-being of the community, the divination or the ebas, or the sacrifices, the work that is prepared or shared with the community or done on behalf of the community. A lot of it is priest work.
I second that, because as a person who lives that life, even now, we're in the midst of ancestral celebration in Oyotunji village, and there's work that we do and name on behalf of children of the diaspora. Mm-hmm. That if you're not connected to that, you have no idea that we're intentionally, and I'm saying we as in a big we, because it's hundreds of people, right? But intentionally saying, yes, there are names that we don't know, and there are names that we do know. And there are people who know of this work, and there are people who don't know of this work, but we know that this work is not for us alone. It's for us collectively and for our collective ancestors. But I also think, which is how I enter into Juneteenth, I also think that extends to the Christian tradition, because for me in the South, there was no us organization. There were no Black Panthers. Like we did not have spaces that permitted that kind of structure, which is why we don't see it, right? But I do think that a lot of that same women's work was happening, very much so, but in ways that got read into the Christian tradition, that got read into the Black church, that got read into Vacation Bible School. So like a lot of the stuff that I know that didn't come from my parents, who were very intentional parents and, progressive in their own ways. But the things that I didn't know, that I didn't get from my parents, I literally got from Vacation Bible School. That's not about what we can think about in the traditional ways around, like, Christian teachings, but that was stuff around Black history and the stuff that we did around Black, even in school, right? Like when I was in high school, I was the president of Black History and Culture Club, which was a whole thing. Like, shout out to Miss Danley, who was our history teacher, but who was dead serious about knowing, like, the understanding what happened to get Black colleges, knowing the history around sharecropping and the nuances of what was happening in Georgia. Like, these were the kinds of things that were happening in ways that helped us to do this kind of celebration, creating and meaning making. Black History and Culture Club, like, February was serious. We'd be walking around high school with African clothes and all kind of stuff, having fashion shows, and it was what I'm saying? It was real, and it would shift the culture of this public school for that month. And so I think those kinds of places where Black women have created celebration, have to be named as well out, even though it's not necessarily in an organizational structure in the same way.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to mention,
go ahead.
How much time we got left? Ooh, okay, so February, I had the opportunity to attend, it was virtual via Zoom, a blessing way for an elder who was making his transition. He was making his transition to ancestorhood, to death. And when I say the word that just keeps coming back to me is powerful. It was so powerful. One of my political mentors, elders, teachers, Ahmed Obafemi. And the word powerful is the only thing that I could come away with. It was, of course, it was sad, but it was also beautiful. It was also uplifting. And I have to salute his family, who I know, their heart was breaking. But at the same, and for a lot of us sisters who are into midwifery, or people who have dealt with midwives and doulas, they talk about the blessing way as a cultural tool that we may have borrowed from the Native Americans of welcoming in a new spirit, welcoming in babies, preparing the mother for motherhood and receiving this new life. But this time it basically became a ritual to usher someone into the next phase of their rite of passage into ancestorhood, and got to salute his family for that. I'm not saying it was all Black women who came together to put that together. I'm not gonna go there. I ain't gonna have the family mad at me, but the feminine energy was absolutely present, and it was such a beautiful, powerful ritual that even though we don't like to really talk about death, it's something that we need to begin to talk about and look into, I think, incorporating amongst ourselves as a ritual tool. My mother passed from lung cancer in 2008, and I could tell she was transitioning. I could see it in her face that she was leaving. And I know, just speaking from personal experience, it is a horrific and yet beautiful experience. You are given an opportunity, you better get it together because this person is leaving. So say your goodbyes, get your loving in and your kisses, but get ready. And a lot of times we're not ready. Those elders in Buffalo, those babies in Texas, they were snatched away in a most horrific fashion. But there are times, even though we fight against it, I know I did all I could. I was doing that bars and calling doctors, trying to prolong my mama's life, because I was like, she would do it for me. I got to do it for her, until I started getting the signals that she is leaving. So you need to prepare. We don't always get a chance to prepare. And if you are given that opportunity to prepare, if you can see past the heartbreak, if you can see through the tears, even though it's horrible, even though it's painful, it's still a type of blessing, And I guess that's why they called it a blessing way, why they titled it Blessing Way for this particular ritual. But that is our work as Black women, ritual work. And I'm being very specifically gendered. That is our work as Black women, ritual work. That is where some of our most potent power lies, for our families, for our babies, for our communities, for those of us who have not given birth physically, who see all of our people as our children, as our people, something we can and should do on their behalf. So I just wanted to share that about the blessing way.
I have never, ever heard of a ceremony like that. That's pretty powerful. That's dope.
I mean, usually we focus on after they pass. This will, and when I think about it, it was most befitting for this particular individual. Brother Ahmed was somebody who faced challenges square on, looked them in the eye, and did not flinch. When others would go that way, he would go forward. And so, having a ceremony to usher you into your next phase. There's something that it's a pain, but we need to have it.
Yeah, the ceremony itself is kind of, I don't want to say common, but I mean, that's some of the work that I do as a death doula. Absolutely. It's the whole space.
Wait, you a death doula too? So we got to add that too? You're a queer sexologist. You're a reverend.
I do ancestral ritual work.
Okay, well,
that's a
I
whole
wasn't
nother
going.
conversation.
I wasn't going to list all of her jobs, but I wanted to say earlier when you talked about Oyatunji, when we talk about Oya, that is seen as a female deity. This is ritual work.
Wow. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, what
Estee.
I was,
Go ahead.
yeah. So what I was going to offer is, yes, the language, which Tanya already said, the language blessing way does come from our native siblings. But in the ways that I know it, there are several ancient rites of passage that rituals for transitioning. But the way that I work is generally customized to who the person is and what they need and what the family needs and what, things may be appropriate for that person's spirit. But I do think that too, which is why I wanted to jump in, I do think that too is a way that Black women have historically been known to celebrate. Because if we think about, at least certainly in my experiences in the South, there's a way that the church women will always be the ones to come to gather to insert, because in my experience, a lot of folks die at home, right? So even when we think about these transitions into life and out of life, it's the women who come and who are bringing food and cooking chicken and creating structure, and then they might call the pastor like, okay, it's time to come give Holy Communion because this person's transition is near. But that too is the way that I think we don't always name. That is a celebration of sorts where we will invite even the community in certain ways. I've seen it happen where in the South, if somebody's dying and it's at so-and-so's house, then we're going to have a 4th of July cookout there so that everybody can go in and see Big Mama before it's too late. That's celebration.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me. Oh, go ahead, Angelina. Go.
I was just gonna insert that I did just post a book, a short good read about Juneteenth, on the Facebook chat, and the author Annette Gordon Reed talks about these traditions within Juneteenth, right? And one of the I guess themes, I picked out some themes that are common when people celebrate Juneteenth, and one was togetherness, right? And she talks about Juneteenth as a kind of version of a family reunion, but she points out, and she talks about the food ways, right? And I got it wrong in a talk, Estee, that I gave last year about Juneteenth, where you talked about the pig, sitting up and roasting the pig on. And you said the 4th of July. I don't know why I remembered that you said Juneteenth, but you were talking about the 4th of July, right? Right. So in that vein, Annette Gordon Reed, I put what you were saying together with what Annette Gordon Reed was saying about they do goat. She talks about some people doing goats. Her family does tamales. But these intensive preparations for these celebrations, these holidays and things like that, she remembers and interprets as time together with family. And I think that's what you're saying, Estee. And she said, then when she was little and they were doing this, she didn't realize that the time we had with family members is so fragile and so fleeting. But she's glad that these holidays bring us together like you're talking about. So we cook together, we might go to a certain person's house and eat together, in particular go there intentionally to spend time with them in their last days, right? If we know that it's their last days, or we may not know, but we were glad we saw cousin Pookie. And who else did you talk about that you slandered because you said you didn't listen to them? Pookie and Ray Ray and Daquan.
I said
well, I'm happy.
Raekwon and Quintavious in it.
Yes,
No, Isabella, if
happy.
she listening, she gonna get mad because I said Pookie. She don't like it.
Because Pookie is her literal cousin. Yes. So but we happy. We glad we spend time during these holiday celebrations with them, because it's we don't have forever in this plane together. And I just wanted to point that out. Thank you for bringing that up, Estee.
I just wanted to point out that I was thinking the word slander, but you actually said it out loud. So.
That's what she did. That's what she did. Because,
Really did.
My mama and people in my family call me Bay when I was growing up. So Bay can also have an intellectual reading of, the Juneteenth holiday. And my dad's name, they call him Bay. So I am a literal Bay's kid.
Anywho, you see how these sisters don't have your back. Okay.
Did you just really say anywho and just dismiss that? Okay. Just checking.
Yes. Yes, I did. Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I think about growing up in Los Angeles and going to my grandmother's house, and I didn't understand this as a little kid. But my grandmother, because she's part of the church ministry, I don't know what ministry this was. They were Methodists. Estee, you can probably tell me, maybe guess.
Probably a missionary. She was probably part of the missionary society.
My grandma was always going to old ladies' houses and cooking for them and preparing for them, and they would be people that were transitioning. She was always doing that. And then you be all like salty because she make this like fantabulous food in the kitchen and you don't get none because she done took it over to somebody.
In fact, you better not touch it.
Better not touch it.
You better not open that pot.
Better not.
And this person about to transition and we can't get no food.
Because you're going to get food on the 4th, okay?
This is not repast food. You can't have none. Yes.
You can't have none.
You know you was going to the repast.
Don't be greedy.
Because my colleague was like, if your family, my grandmother just transitioned this morning, right? And so I know my family and the family's about to get together because it's we support each other and we're together. We're in these moments. Not to say that my family is perfect, but this is something, a tradition.
Your for real grandma?
My for real grandmother, yes.
That's this morning?
Yes, she transitioned this morning, but she's been in transition for a while. She's 94 years old. And that's another story. But yeah, she was, we were prepared for it. And she lived a long life and, very, very, very left a lot behind for us in terms of her, legacy, richness of a cultural legacy and a close family and things like that. But when I told one of my colleagues, one of the first things she said was, boy, I know it's going to be a lot of ribs and bread pudding going on. And I was just like, absolutely. I'm going to get ready so I can go.
Ham.
Well,
they're not going to have ham?
No, I mean, no, that's not going to be the first thing on their mind. Barbecue going to be the first thing on their mind.
Oh, yeah, you come from barbecue people.
I come from barbecue country, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody might buy ham or something. Barbecue potato salad, yes.
But you ain't barbecue,
yes.
Salad because you don't like it. What kind of potato salad y'all have? Y'all have yellow potato salad or white potato salad?
It's white.
Okay, there. Normal potato salad. Normal potato salad. Normal.
Yes.
Yeah, normal.
And there's gonna be all kinds of different versions of pound cake. Yes.
I was just about to say it's gonna be caramel cake. It's gonna be pound cake. It's gonna It's
my
be
grandmother
pound cake with icing.
Yes, because my grandmother was a dessert maven, so we will do this in remembrance of her.
And it's holy.
Wow.
But look at that. Okay, so me and Thandie from Los Angeles, the two of y'all from the South, from Alabama and Georgia, and look how you start talking about food. And we all have like kind of this cultural memory of Black food ways and can identify like similar stuff and like, because
we migrated to LA from the South with an S. South.
Yeah. And I mean, but I think that there's something really powerful about these Black food ways that we have that are similar, that get passed down, that talk about our connections with creating family, with creating holidays, with celebrations. And I think that there's something important for us to be able to talk about that in a very positive way, because when people talk about Black food ways, they talk about dysfunctional things and they pathologize our food. But there's also something that is very connected. So look, I asked her what color the potato salad is. She said white. The two of y'all down there rolled your eyes, because y'all do that on nasty yellow potato salad.
Oh no, I was saying white.
Okay. So you normal. Okay, so that was just Tandy. Something wrong with her.
You my sister. I love you.
I was saying white.
Like I say, I love you. You my.
It's well, actually, it's white in Alabama. It's yellow here. That's really the truth.
It's yellow in Georgia.
People are from Alabama, so that's really what I was thinking about when she was talking. Because my grandmother, who transitioned in 2016, was the potato salad maven. Now she did desserts too, but those were her two things. But really, the potato salad, like she would drive to 40 and 50 minutes away because they'd be like, "We want some Miss Pauline potato salad," and it was white.
And yes, I grew up with white potato salad, but in the last few years, I've taken a liking to yellow. I admit it.
Yeah, now in Macon, Georgia, with my daddy people,
no ma'am,
it's yellow.
No ma'am,
because it's made with sandwich bread and Miracle Whip.
I've got to check that out because my husband's folks are from Macon, and I never noticed because I don't like potato salad, and I just run past the potato salad.
That's why it's the sandwich spread. Because that's what it like. That's what I realized was the difference when I started observing. It's I don't know I don't actually know what sandwich bread is because you can't find it in the grocery store. You got to go like to the JC Marts by the gas station. But that's what people in Middle Georgia are using. Is some stuff called sandwich spread.
Yeah. So let me ask y'all this: what, if anything, will be on your Juneteenth table?
I think, okay, so my new transition. So I have, since the pandemic, I have become this this grilling queen. So I'm sure y'all have seen these pictures that I will put on it. So something, I don't know what, it will probably be some salmon. Something will be on the grill because I have finally perfected it. I can put that thing on there. You got your nice little grill marks. Feeling good. It'll be some salmon.
It's funny you asked that and you mentioned the grill too, what both of you are saying. Because what I was thinking about as like my closing note, for me, I got introduced to Juneteenth through the celebrations in Atlanta. That was really where I got acclimated with it. And so my association with Juneteenth is like a festival feel because culturally that's how I was brought into. Like I had heard of it, but from a historical perspective, not from a celebratory perspective. And so I think of Juneteenth and I want to be like outside in the sun eating cookout food. So that's definitely my association. So because I think about, in my family, we were sharecroppers. And so the association I have with like having to tend to the land and be on the land is that we always named that by celebrating, by being outside, by throwing hot fish in grease outside. That's when you're really frying, because if you can fry it in the house, it's not a real celebration. Because you need to have enough fish that you need to actually have a fish fryer outside so don't nobody get burned. If you can cook all the fish in the kitchen, it's not a real fish fry. It's a gathering. It's a celebration with fish.
It's dinner.
Anybody? I see it. You not, because you like, that's exactly what I believe. Yeah. So that's what I think of when I think Juneteenth. So I'm like, I'm probably some fried fish.
That's pretty cool. So I mean, Juneteenth was something I started celebrating in Atlanta too, and I guess it's with the Juneteenth Atlanta coalition, right? And it became the next big celebration after Malcolm X Day. I'm looking to go to it, and then and for me there was a lot of service involved because ASALA, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, the Atlanta branch, partners with Juneteenth Atlanta. And a lot of times we were, helping set up booths and doing Black History trivia and all kinds of stuff. So, and it came to be associated with me with the festival food. So thank you for pointing that out. But but this thing with the barbecue, it's so central to Juneteenth celebrations. And it's interesting because it's like something that came from the indigenous people, right? And we made it sort of our own thing. So it celebrates the, somebody I saw online ranting um about the red, black, green, and gold association, color association with Juneteenth, saying that this is not a Pan-African holiday. This is specifically grown from American roots to respond to these American conditions. And I think somebody just said it could be both and, right? It could be both things. And I think it is. And it's important not to lose sight of the fact that it is both very American, a response to very American conditions, but it's also Pan-African.
Yeah, I just don't like when people, I forget that group, Tanya argues with them online, them people.
They shall not be named. I call them the alphabet niggers. No, we are not going. And I'm a little bit tiffed at Njamile for giving that a scintilla of legitimacy.
I can't do it. I can't. I mean, I agree with you from a historic perspective. Yes, it is an African-American holiday. It comes from Galveston, Texas. I just don't like when people do all that. Well, this is ours and you're not from this country and all that stuff. That's again, white supremacy always on the table. That's the rooting in white supremacy.
Mental illness right there.
Right there. I can't do with that. I can't do with that. Now, here's the thing. This is a whole other conversation. The thing is with the whole barbecue thing. So definitely I can associate barbecue, something red, maybe some red velvet cake, with the holiday. But barbecuing is something that's very brand new to me because when I grew up, no, I ate barbecue, but I said I was barbecuing. When I grew up, you know who barbecued?
That's a man's job.
That's men's work.
Men on the grill.
I never, not once, not a single time in my entire life saw a woman barbecue. You would get cut. Now, they couldn't be in the kitchen. They didn't know how to do no eggs or nothing like that. My daddy didn't know how to do none of that. My daddy would be out there smoking turkeys and doing all kinds of stuff on the grill. That's it. And so for myself, actually, I had to kind of bring that to my conscious awareness and work through that of this idea that I was going to stand in front of a grill and cook something because it was so different than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what that is. I think it's a larger American thing too, that the men in previous generations, were the grill masters, quote unquote. But when I grew up, it was a, get in where you fit in kind of thing. All hands on deck.
No, well, so in terms of grilling, and I didn't grow up seeing the kinds of stuff. So because I don't eat beef and pork, and so I will grill any kind of thick fish, vegetables. I will make some chapati, some flatbread. I will literally put that on the grill and barbecue the flatbread. You name it, and kale, broccoli, all kinds of stuff be on the grill. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I will throw some kale on the grill in a second. So I think I got my menu. So I think I'm gonna do some grilled kale, grilled salmon, white potato salad, and
you ain't had to get snarky about it. Just go on with your menu. Go on and name your food.
Baked beans, and I might do a pound cake.
You ain't said nothing black yet. Why all the focus on white, my sister?
Ooh. Ooh.
JK.
That's hilarious.
JK.
You got me with that.
But no, okay. The real thing is red, right? So with Juneteenth, one of the traditional things was you got to have something red. Red velvet cake, red drink. You got to have something red. So anybody got something red to symbolize the blood, the suffering, and the overcoming?
You can do a red pound cake, and then this is what you do, as opposed to putting that red number 5 in there or red number whatever, 52. You do a little beet powder.
Mhm.
So I know whose house I'm not going to. I'm looking for red velvet. Anybody out there doing
Wait
red
a minute.
velvet?
Okay, so
Red
she talking that mess.
velvet.
She talking that mess. In the 20-something years that we've been friends, ask her how many times she done come and ate out my pots in my house. Plenty.
No, I mean, I'm not saying, no, this is not a wholesale disparagement of your cooking at all. I am not, huh?
She's just about this Juneteenth.
Thank you. I'm not eating no beet
Yeah,
powder.
we're not gonna do the beet powder.
Thank you,
Not
ST.
for
I need
would not be
somebody
able to
to
taste
go
it.
in the chat. Somebody need to tell me where I could get the real
I
red
feel
velvet
like
cake.
in honor of the ancestors, it's gotta be a little non-healthy in traditional ways. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like this is the time where you need to make, sweet tea and with the layer of sugar at the bottom of the picture.
You mean diabetic tea?
Yeah,
Diabetic.
where you can see that extra like clump.
The layer.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
no.
how you know that's how you know it's correct.
No, see what if we want to do an ancestral, going back to my grandfather, this is the ode to my grandfather, you gotta do solar tea. You gotta put the whole big old jar out in the sun. Make you some, and not solar tea.
Ooh.
I might
So we'll
come
add
for
that
the
to the list.
tea, but I'm not coming for the pound cake made with bread with beets. Not
You
gonna-
wouldn't even know.
I mean,
it's
don't
beet
take my
powder.
and don't take my advice or opinion if you don't want to be on insulin. Okay, this is a disclaimer. It's just I'm just talking from my personal preference. That's all.
Anyway, on that note, as we close out, okay. Oh, I wanted to say something. I wanted to go back. Now we don't went all the way around the circle and stuff. I wanted to go back because I put a link in there about when Sister Tandi, when you were talking in that video that you posted about the making of Kwanzaa, because I think that that's important too, because we can kind of get caught up into I'm gonna use the word identity politics. I'm gonna use that word right now. And I'm gonna make my own definition for it. I know when Njimile first 20-some years ago asked me about Kwanzaa, and I was like, oh no, we don't celebrate Kwanzaa. I come from Los Angeles. I come from parents that were involved in the movement on the Black Panther side of the movement. And if you say anything about my dad, say ain't no such thing as Malana. He called him wrong. Well, he says unnice words that I can't say. But the nicest that he can say is Ron Karenga. And he gets very angry when talking about him. So we didn't do anything around Kwanzaa at all. And when I look back at some of my Facebook friends that are still from Los Angeles and have gone to Cal State Long Beach, they still have the same level of hostility. And so my association with Kwanzaa has always been Ron Karenga, Dr. Karenga, his history, which we all know of torturing Black women that people seem to easily gloss over. And so then that creates kind of this hostility towards, well, for me, it created a hostility towards Kwanzaa because I was infused with that from my dad. And then just knowing the ways in which that he has mistreated and harmed Black women. And so then meeting Njimile helped me kind of understand like a more broader perspective. And so Tandi, even when you posted that video last year, it was helpful to see Kwanzaa as something that is beyond just Ron Karenga. He is the main person that gets associated with it, but we know that there are other people. Am I losing people? Okay. Other people. I mean, we got a child that is the one that came up with the idea, and then we know that all these other people are the ones that were actually working on the creation of the holiday, and that helps me to feel better about it and not focus on this individual person. And I think that that's something that we need to keep in mind when we think about holidays.
Yeah, just from my personal experience, the research that I've done, this is not an attempt to quote unquote rehabilitate or sanitize Kwanzaa. It's really and attempt to find the truth. And so, I'm glad that you've been able to, quote unquote, move past, because for some people, they don't care who came up with it. It's associated with him, and they ain't gonna have nothing to do with it. And I understand. I get it. But yeah.
Got it. See, that's why you gotta have a historian. So I knew this, but Dr. McCray says the term identity politics was coined by the company River Collective and has been twisted.
Woo, don't
She'll set you straight. The historian will always set you straight.
Right.
Okay. Close out comments. We went way over time. We had an hour and 20 minutes. What are your closeout comments? What should, and whether it be Juneteenth or other holidays, which I think is important, what should we consider as we create new spaces for us to celebrate?
What should we consider?
Food, and that you should have white potato salad. But what?
Food ways, I would think. I was going to say food ways and our traditions. Those are places and times for us to celebrate our traditions, our culture. There are times to focus on what true freedom and liberation means, and to put that, put our ideas and beliefs about that in the world, reinforce them. There are times of togetherness, and times to celebrate our creativity.
Yeah.
And I think that going forward, we should look, when I was a kid growing up in LA, I loved the 4th of July because my mom and my daddy was home from work. We got to eat good. It was fireworks. I wasn't thinking about no Statue of Liberty. I wasn't thinking about no Patrick. I wasn't thinking about none of that stuff. It was an opportunity to have fun. And I think that going forward, we need to take advantage of any opportunity where we can come together as Black folks, be in communion, be in a communal space, and have fun. Have some expressions of Black joy. No, it ain't our Independence Day. Yes, they got the news. We celebrating, they got the news late. Okay. Juneteenth and moving forward, when we can come together, I think that we should take that opportunity to come together, and in the wake of these most recent white supremacist tragedies, protect ourselves. We must protect our joy and protect ourselves as we move forward.
I'm gonna jump in and say our ritual is a creative collaboration. It's all, even if it's in its origin, something that was made up, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important to be, I'm saying, even if it's an ancient ritual, mm-hmm. There's a collaboration with the divine that occurred to make it up. And so I think it's important to take agency around how we choose to be creative and through mm-hmm. meaning making. And that can be as elaborate, or it can be as intentional, or it can be as organic as fits your context, your family, your folks. And so I think taking the agency around that is what's important when it comes to celebration. Because for me, Juneteenth is very meaningful now. That isn't true for my own lineage. But it is very meaningful for me. And so doing that meaning making and however I choose to be creative, I think is the kind of agency we should all be doing. And I think that agency really is ancestral. So who cares what they're doing at the White House? If it's meaningful to me, mm-hmm. then let that meaning be powerful and create the ritual that honors that meaning for you.
Mm-hmm. Ashley?
I like what each of you said. I'm thinking, I'm always, like Angelina, I'm always going to talk about Black food ways and the importance of maintaining our Black food ways and not pathologizing our food. There are certainly things that people can do that are unhealthy, but the foundation of our food, I think, is important, and we need to honor and respect that. And just also like what you said, Thandi, about being intentional about taking time to celebrate, to be with family, to eat together, to go see fireworks or whatever it is. And it doesn't have to mean that you're necessarily celebrating the 4th of July. Every year we get together and we on Thanksgiving, and part of my ancestry is First Nations, and I recognize the problems with that holiday. At the same time, we get together, we talk about things. We have not been as consistent. One of the things that Njamile introduced to our daughters is the idea of going and making an offering for the people of this land, the indigenous folks around that time. I do think that it's important for us to make time to live, like Njamile said earlier, because we can talk about dying for the revolution, and we have to live. We have to create those spaces of Black joy, and whether that be that we create a holiday, or we adapt a holiday, or if we have these federal holidays that are times for us to connect with family, it's very, very important, because I think in our younger years, 20 some years ago, we'd be all revolutionary. Oh, that's the system. We ain't celebrating that. And you just get so set on protest and going against the system that you miss, like, if nothing else, it's a time to sit with the other people in your family, to sit at the feet of your elders, to listen, to play taboo and watch Njamile mush somebody in the head when they get the thing. We had that one time. I mean, just to laugh and just to have fun. And I think that those things are important.
Absolutely. Got to have some fun. I forgot to mention, it was my father would drive me to go get the fireworks. I didn't find out until I was grown that fireworks are illegal in LA. I was like, but my dad is setting it off in the driveway. I thought that was hilarious. My dad is the law for his baby girl. I love that. I love that.
That is hilarious. I want to take a little bit of a privilege. She wouldn't let if she knew I was going to do this, she wouldn't let me. Okay, so let me say this. We're going to take off a couple of months. We'll be back, in August? So we're taking off July. Are we coming back in August, or are we coming back in September? One of them two. So we'll be off.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out, and then we'll be back.
We'll let you know how we feel.
Yeah, when the kids come back, we'll be back. When we'll be back and talking to y'all. I would love to know if you have ideas or that you subjects or topics that you want us to talk about. So put those in the chat. But what we do know is one of my good friends for over 20 years now has experienced a transition, her grandmother transitioning to the realm of the ancestors this morning. And so I thank you for coming and still participating. But I think just as sisters that we need to just acknowledge that for a second.
Absolutely.
And so if I can pull on Sister Estee. So let's just do a little prayer.
Oh, I should.
And how about we do this as a round robin?
I'll go last now. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'll start. I'll pass it to you, Sister Thandi, and then I'm going to pass it to Estee. So we can just do a prayer for our sister Njamile.
Okay.
What was your grandmother's name, Njamile?
Leola Lyles Blevins.
Mother, Father, God, divine energy that holds us all, we call upon you today as one of your daughters is transitioning to your world. Leola Lyles Blevins is transitioning to the world of the ancestors. Please light the path so that she is able to get back to her husband, her mother, her father, and all those that have transitioned before her. Please allow her to find respite, to find health, and find happiness in the realm of the ancestors. And for those that she has left behind, including Pat McCray, and I don't know your auntie's name, and her other daughter, her second
Mona.
daughter,
Mona.
Mona,
Yes.
and her granddaughter, Kenja and Jamile McCray, and her great grandchildren. Please allow them to have some comfort and be able to hold on to the lessons that she has taught them.
Sure.
Ashe.
Sure.
Thank you.
Miss Leola, we thank you for the work of your hands and for the work of your heart in rearing your family, in providing them lessons, in providing them love, and providing them sweet memories. We thank you oh so much for the work that you have done.
Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you.
Egungun mojuba. Egungun mojuba. Egungun mojuba. We call on the collective power of our ancestors that are in heaven. We give you thanks. We give you honor. We call on our Egungun, our personal Egungun. Egungun me, we call on you asking that you would arise to hear our prayers today on behalf of Miss Leola Lyles Blevins, her children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, and her great-great-grandchildren.
Sure.
We ask that all of the Egungun of Kenja McCray and Jamile, as we lovingly know her, on her father's side and her mother's side, will stand up to support her specifically in this time of transition, because she herself loved her grandmother and knows the power that her grandmother endowed her with to be a historian specifically, to fill that role for the family legacy, to fill that role for her lineage, and to fill that role for her destiny. May her own needs not be lost in the midst of the greater needs and in the larger family needs and the needs of her parents and their generation, or the needs of her children and their generation. We pray for our sister today because she was loved dearly and adored and surrounded by her grandmother. Miss Leola, we thank you. We thank you. We call on Bobo Egungun. We call on all of the ancestors to come and support your spirit in rising, to support your spirit in progressing with ease. We know the work that you did on this side has already paved a path for you to go to the ancestral realm, that you may walk that path as quickly as your spirit desires, and that you may plant your feet firmly on the other side to do the work that is yours to do in the spirit realm when it is your time to do so. At this time, we ask that you rest. At this time, we ask that you rise. At this time, we ask that you receive our gratitude. Our gratitude, our gratitude. Receive our gratitude that it may elevate your spirit, that you may know, well done is the word for your life. Well done is the word for your work. Well done is the word for your time. Well done is the word for your love of your children. Well done is the intention of you to live into the fullness of your destiny, and it is so. It is done. It is complete, and we honor it. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe,
Ashe. Oh, thank you. That was nice.
Of course, of course. So, all of y'all out there, hang out with your family on Juneteenth. Let us know. And Jamila asked you what you gonna cook for Juneteenth. Let us know about your menu. Take care of yourself. We'll see you in a couple months.